Hello and welcome to this episode of Faith in Community. I'm Stan Reep, pastor of St. Paul's Lutheran Church, South George and Springettsbury Avenue, and I'll be your host for this episode. Today we have two parts to our episode. The first one is regarding English as a second language, and the second part has to do with a community garden that is on the grounds of the Unitarian Universalist congregation here in York in the 900 block of South George Street. But the first part, I'm with my guests this morning, and they are Carol Stowell, who's a member of the Unitarian congregation, who hosts the English as Second Language group. And next to her is Marilyn Newberger, who provides the instruction for that portion of the program. And then we're blessed today to have one of their students with us, Pei Hua is with us, and so we're delighted. So our first part of the program is just a conversation about English as second language, and what would you like our viewers here in York and in the county to know about English as a second language, the program that's hosted at your congregation? What would you like people to know?
Well, I guess I'll start because Marilyn had contacted me because I've been a volunteer with the Literacy Council for about 20 years teaching people who were learning English as a second language. And she wanted to start a new program, and asked if our church might be willing to sponsor it. And I thought it was a great idea because I've known Marilyn. She is an excellent teacher. I've sat in on her classes that she's taught at the college, and she has a gift and a real understanding of what people who are learning, adult learners who are learning a second language, go through. And so I was just delighted to have that opportunity. And, you know, and it helped me also because I myself as an adult have been trying to learn a second language. And since I've been retired for the last 4 years, I've done 4 immersion trips to Spanish-speaking countries. And so I have a real sympathy for what it's like as an adult to try to learn a second language. And all of our students are adults who've come here from different countries, and it's overwhelming. And I'm so delighted that we can help them in this journey.
You mentioned this is a program mainly for adult speakers or exclusively for adult speakers?
Exclusively for adults.
And you mentioned adult men and women coming from other countries. Who are, what nations do people come from who are in the program currently? You want to?
We have a lot of Brazilians and also students from Mexico, China, Japan, and Vietnam right now.
Great.
So it's
a pretty global group.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And with all of them, what are the things that they're looking for most in the program? What are you able to provide for them as students, as learners, that other programs might miss or might not connect with?
Right. Well, we have our area, which is Conversational English, but we're not looking to be a comprehensive ESL program. We have the Literacy Council down the road. They do a great job. They've got 4 levels of skills that they address, evening and daytime classes. So we're not looking to do that, but we are looking to help students with their conversational English needs. And I saw a need for that in the community. And yes, as Carol said, and Carol, thank you for your kind words, this was something that your congregation was involved in and hoping to get more involved in, working with immigrants. And so that's what we do in this program. We're working with building conversational English skills. It's a 2-part program. We have the conversation class. We call it Natural English. And we help students with grammar, vocabulary, idioms, pronunciation, and listening skills, and using those in a natural way, in a more conversational way, to help them use their English skills in American and local York society. And then we have the Conversation Club after that, which is much less formal. Not that the class is formal, but it's very informal. And we do various conversational activities, just a lot of talking. We discuss some interesting subjects.
So anything is open for discussion when you come together for the student. You can bring up any topic you would like, Peiwa, when you're in class.
Yeah, I'm really enjoy the class. Normally, Marilyn will give us some cards. They have a lot of different kind of questions to ask, to discuss about.
Okay, so they get you started in a conversation, and then you have to utilize all your vocabulary words and things you've learned.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yes, we've had some interesting discussions, like in things like, what is your goal in developing your English skills, but also like moral questions, like what if you saw your brother-in-law kissing another woman, what would you do? I remember that one. I thought, oh, that's a lively discussion. Yes. So, we get into some moral questions, and, what are some of the things that you value, the things that you feel about life?
Okay, so social etiquette things as well. That
I actually put a few of these cards in my pocket. What is the oldest thing you have? What is the newest thing you have? Tell me about your favorite job. Do you remember your dreams? Tell about one.
Great.
What is one of the world's most serious problems? So sometimes we're like a little mini UN, discussing world problems. Other times, do you like long hair or short hair? It's a real variety.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have the two components to the class. How often do you meet? I guess that's a good question people would like to know.
Once a week, Thursday mornings.
Okay, and then it's followed by a conversational class. Now, is anyone welcome to come to that? I mean, community members? Do you invite? How does that work?
Yeah, well now it seems all the English learners are also in the class, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can come to just the class or just the club, which follows the class. There is a fee for the class, but the club is free. But basically, we're really geared toward English learners who are conversational, at a conversational level. It's not for beginners, really, because it just would be over their heads. So intermediate and advanced level English learners. And we also have native English speakers who serve as language models and to share with the students. And those are all volunteers from the Unitarian congregation at this point. So it's not completely open to the public, but if anyone is interested, they can.
Yeah, and right now the volunteers are all members or friends of our community, but certainly if somebody wanted to help with that.
So if someone had a passion for that, they could call you.
We'd love it.
I know we'll put the information for how to make a contact so that they could call if they have or have need of that kind of class for a friend or relative who may be in the, or personally have need for that. Other things you want to share about just the program in need? I know from kind of a religious faith-based perspective, we're always thinking about, welcoming the alien or the stranger. And how do you see the program working to be a program of welcome? I know you talked there's a fee connected, but beyond that, how do you see this working as sort of that sense of hospitality? Can you speak to that?
Our national organization, the Unitarian Universalist Association, one of the major initiatives this year has been on immigration reform. We are very concerned as a congregation about the archaic immigration laws in the United States and the way families are often torn apart by our immigration laws, and we would really like to see reform. And this is one way we can do something we can do on the local community to help people who are here from other countries. And it doesn't matter to us if they're here legally or illegally. They are welcome in our doors and welcome to be a part of this club.
Okay. Well, that's good to know for people to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
But I think that to be able to be a place of welcome is really important to put out there. Other things you'd like to share as a student? What has been the most interesting thing you've learned in the class?
Well, when I first came to here, York, about 5 years ago, so most time I'm staying home. My husband said, I think you feel bored, stay home. You should go out to meet people, to learn a lot of things, stuff. I said, okay. Then we go on the line, look for an English class. That's why we found the Literacy Council.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you began with the Literacy Council.
Yeah, began.
And then moved into this class to advance your skills.
Yeah, at least I can, make appointment, talk to my doctor if I have problem.
Yes.
Like that, I learned the skill. My husband, you don't let me talk. You should talk.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And so you've gained great confidence
in
being able to speak.
Right,
Good.
exactly, confidence.
That's great. Let me think.
I wanted to say something about that too, calling the doctor for an appointment. I mean, when you're learning a second language, things that you did as an adult, when you were living in China, you were very efficient with all the things that you could do. But I know myself going to another country and trying to speak the language, I felt like a child. Because all I had was a child's language. And you're very vulnerable. You can't speak with the proficiency to handle even things like making a doctor's appointment or going to the store or reading the signs. It can be very frightening. So,
in the beginning, I'm really scared to talk to people. I always cannot.
But now here you are on our television show, talking about faith in community and very confident. So that in and of itself bodes well for the program.
Yeah, I'm glad it's myself.
Confidence and competence is what we are developing, hopefully. So, but I was going to say with the class part, we work on a lot of dialogues. We have a required book that we use that has a lot of dialogues in the restaurant, in the doctor's office, where we work on a lot of vocabulary related to that and practicing that kind of thing. Yeah. So.
And there's so many idioms in English.
So many
idioms are a big part of it.
Yeah. Oh, maybe you can give an example of an idiom.
Well, for example, count me in, count me out. We worked on that last week.
Yeah.
And one of the students who was, I had talked to about maybe doing the show was sick and couldn't do it, so she emailed me and said, I'm sorry, you'll have to count me out.
Ah, she got it then.
I said, I'm sorry you're sick, but good use of the idiom.
Great. Good. Right. Anything else you'd like to share with our viewers today about the English as second language and the important part that it plays in our community in York, helping folks become really proficient and fluent?
Well, I want to say something from the volunteer perspective because, as I said, we have about 10 volunteers in the church, and quite a few of them had not been ESL teachers and they didn't really have experience with that, but they love it. And we're really enjoying a chance to get to know people who have different perspectives on life and from different countries and being a part of that journey. So,
is there the misconception that you yourself need to know a different language in order to help?
No.
Some people do think that.
That would be, I think that was something I originally thought was, well, I need to know Spanish if I'm helping someone learn English. And that really isn't necessary.
It would be helpful if we were in Spain or Mexico, but we have so many languages and we're
Right.
dealing with that, we just really need English. It's good in a way because you can have that compassion and understanding of language learning, as you were saying, but it's not necessary.
Well, wonderful. This has been a delight having you on the show for this portion of this episode. I thank you for taking time to come and share your story about English as second language and faith in our community. Thank you. Yes.
If I could just give my email if anyone wants.
I think they'll probably provide all of that on the bottom
okay.
of the screen. They did that so graciously in other episodes, so we'll make certain that
Okay, because I want to make sure, if
people
want more information, they can get, yes. So if anyone would like to email me, it's clearenglish@comcast.net. Clear English, one word, @comcast.net. Or I'd say to call.
Great. And the phone number at the Unitarian congregation, or a number?
Oh, I don't know. It's in my speed dial.
Well, we'll make certain that that goes across.
Okay.
Hey, thank you so much. This has been a delight having you here, and we wish you all the best with your English, as well as your fellow students in the program. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you
And
for
Carol
having us
Marilyn,
there.
thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Stan.
Thank you
having
for
us.
tuning in. Remember, there's a second portion to this episode. We'll be with the pastor of the congregation talking about the community garden that's hosted and provided for on the grounds of the Unitarian congregation. Thank you. Welcome. I'm Stan Reep, and we're continuing in our episode with our second portion. I'm pastor at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, and I'm hosting this episode of Faith in Community. Our guest that we continue with is the minister of the Unitarian Universalist congregation, Robert Rengillian, and Bob and I are here today to share a little bit about the community garden that's hosted on your congregation's grounds. You have a beautiful property on the south end of the city. So if you'd like to tell us more, tell our viewers about the garden and the ministry there.
Thank you, Stan. Well, I believe it was about 4 years ago our congregation got the idea that just mowing this spot on our property wasn't enough, that we needed to have something to do that would help us be part of our community. And so the spot that was right in the front center of the property, we turned over to becoming a community garden, chested the soil, got the plans made up for how big it might be, and then reaching out to our neighbors, you right across the corner, and the Crispus Attucks Center, and Bobby Simpson up there, and trying to figure out, okay, so now where do we go from here, and dividing up the plots and saying, what do we do? And it grew from that. It was, if you don't mind me saying, organic.
It was very organic.
Yeah.
Because if my memory serves me, it was just about the time when you had talked about not wanting to just continue to mow it, that one of your members came and did a Sunday school segment at our congregation and brought up the idea, boy, wouldn't it be great if we could do something? And out of that, truly organic, has come this wonderful, wonderful garden.
So you know, it's when you've been there, you've seen it. It brings together families, volunteers, people of all ages to pull together time, conversation, pulling weeds together, planting, harvesting, the whole cycle in the city of York, and in a way that the outcome is both what you get from the harvest, and we bring that over our portion over to your congregation for your food bank. So fresh vegetables are in the mix of what you can do, but it's also what has become something of support in the community, people realizing, wow, there are ways this makes a difference, and we'd like to support that. So this year we were able to get a grant, and the Youth Build program at Crispus Attucks volunteered and put together 6 new individual family plots, and the grant helps pay for the water system that can be up there to help the families who work those plots be able to water what they're planting. And Harley Davidson is interested in providing the beehives, and so the pollination in the city is happening, and it's not just one group. It's not just, oh, folks from my congregation. This has ended up in a whole community.
Yeah, it's fun to see the the excitement each spring of hope. What people want to plant, where there was success the previous year, or what grew really, really well that we didn't think about. The other piece has been for us on the distribution side, harvest, being able to see what families who come to the food pantry who have particular need, what they really are craving. Rarely is there any fresh produce left, regardless of what we've grown or what the garden has produced. But I think that sense of hope, especially from the gardeners, is really contagious in those first early spring days of prepping the soil and getting things ready and getting those seeds in the ground.
And I know this year was a little later. We had such a long winter. We had a slower planting. So I don't think we have anything coming up yet. But when you're talking about fresh produce, blueberries, strawberries, and along with the radishes and the tomatoes and the other things. And if folks want to come down in 925 South George Street and just take a look, they may be interested to see, hey, what was it last year? Things were being staked up high by unused crutches.
Yes.
Who knows what you'll see when you go down there, and the ingenuity of what folks in the garden are doing to help a 9-foot tall tomato plant.
And if visitors come, there is a place where they can find out jobs that need to be done if they'd like to pitch in and help.
Right.
There's a bulletin board.
It's a bulletin board, and if they want to be sure to meet people there, I know Mondays from 4 o'clock on into the early evening dinner time is when a lot of the volunteers show up each week to put it all together.
So if you wanted to show up and be with other people that Monday afternoon session.
Yeah.
When you, being a pastor myself, I always know how ideas sometimes are hard to get off of the ground. Any struggles within the congregation just with the idea or its location or being host to what has turned into a real community project?
No, I'm kind of proud of, while there was a lot to figure out and there were people who had to chip in and make sure it happened, everything came together. I think it was in a January sermon where I passed along the idea of a member of the congregation and pointed down to that member in the pews and said, you know, hey, if we want to be out there and known in the community for something real, here's an idea. And it seemed a natural fit. It worked. And I know that doesn't always happen. I know that we would love to have folks now show up and do the work too, because there are times when it takes a lot of people to do what needs to be done.
Yes. And as you mentioned, the garden has really branched outside the original 60 by 60 plot, which we sort of divided in thirds with the Crispus attics. But we've now gotten raised beds, and I'm not certain, are they all spoken for at this point in the season?
I believe finally now they are all spoken for.
I knew initially there was some difficulty.
And at first we were surprised because we'd put out feelers to see, hey, through the Jackson K-8 school or through others, hey, do you know if there's anybody who'd like a plot? And we weren't getting as many responses back as we thought, but it may take a year or two for folks to say, oh yeah, we'd like it. And then, in which case, okay, well then we'll next year see if we can build some more, if those youth build folks can help us, if the scouts who'd come over to help will do more to help put it all together for us so that more families, more individuals are able to work the soil.
Great.
Yeah.
I know it's been really helpful for some folks who no longer have space themselves to garden, to be able to use their love of soil and love of gardening. It's become a really good ministry from that perspective,
good.
keeping
That is
them,
good.
them busy. Other things you'd like to share, just perspective from the garden. I know from your facility, your worship space has that beautiful clear glass
Yes.
window looking out.
Yes.
So to be able to see each week.
I face the other direction,
Oh.
Stan, but people in the congregation can look, and they can gaze over that way and see the garden, so that's nice. It's nice for them to see it out the front windows there, yes. And I guess up close, your congregation had done an English garden style, and you had flowers in the midst of the vegetables. So the close-up view, you get closer, you find the
peculiarities of all the
I was going to
farmers.
see an eccentric touch to it. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how the individual plots now, what does that look like? You know, how are people marking out what they're planting and get a sense of what is it they would like?
And yeah, and what are they growing?
Yeah.
Because the first few years it was very interesting what people decided to plant and how those resources would be used. You mentioned blueberry bushes. Do you want to say a little bit about having blueberries now on the property?
Well, it's a piece of thinking that some things are year-round, perennial, to be able to do that. And I guess there's a grapevine that's always now intertwined, growing throughout too. So some of the fruit there, we had volunteers wrap the plants at one point so the birds weren't getting to the harvest before we were, I think, and maybe to protect it a little bit through the winter. But I don't know if you can help us remember some of the things that you know are planted there. The blueberries are on the south end of that original 60 foot by whatever plot, and then we mentioned your congregation's plot had worked in the flowers in the English garden style, and then I mentioned a few of the vegetables, but we also had Crispus Attucks that had in their plot some of the cabbage, I don't know, can you think of some
we
of
had
the
collard greens, we
collard
had
greens, that's right.
radishes, early peas, cucumbers. We had planted some small watermelon, and the people from the pantry loved those because they don't have transportation. They're walking, most of them.
Right.
And so to be able to take home just a small melon.
Right.
So we had some luck with that.
That's
it'll
good.
be interesting to see what was planted this year.
Right.
I've been less involved. I have more members involved in in that ministry right now. So I'm really proud of the work they're doing. Yeah. And you can see with both congregations' websites, you can see photographs of the community garden and people working and tilling and harvesting. So, anything else you'd like to share about that? Oh, do you have any other hopes for what can happen on your property? Like I said, you have beautiful grounds.
It's already happening. The people who are coming to it are now rubbing elbows, talking with each other, and then you're part of a community. Then you're part of a neighborhood. And
well, for anyone who comes and visits and wants to look on the bulletin board and see a task or work on a Monday, there's another opportunity that I would feel amiss if I didn't mention, and that's the labyrinth that you have that's just east of the garden, down over the old foundation.
Down in the old sunken garden of what had been the estate. That's right. We had a few years ago transformed the central area of that into a labyrinth which can be walked at any time.
Yes. So people who come to see the garden, if they'd like to have a little time for solace and prayer, that's a great
time
I would be amiss.
To meditate, good place to meditate.
And we're appreciative of that.
You can even see it on satellite views. It's big enough if you go online and look on satellite views, you can see that there. So,
anything else you want to share today, Bob?
I'm just so pleased and proud of this community pulling together in this way and so many partners making it work. I'm glad that our congregation realized we have the space, now what can be done? We're in a neighborhood, who's out there and how can we be partners?
Good.
And that's what this is about.
All right.
Yeah.
So faith in community, faith at work in people's lives, and transforming lives through healthy eating and a safe place to work and share in community.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for viewing and joining us in this episode, both with English as a second language and with Community Garden. Thank you.